Hello, I'm Elise Vance, the author of the channel Borrowed Lives, and I offer you fascinating stories. Like and subscribe to my channel.
It was a crisp autumn weekend when my brother's family brought our parents up to Silveridge for a visit. Since they rarely made the trip from their quiet farming valley, I wanted to treat them to something special. I decided on the Gilded Leaf, an exclusive botanical restaurant and wellness lounge. I held a premium house membership there, which operated on a prepaid system. I had loaded a significant sum onto it months ago during their anniversary promotion to secure a high-tier discount. Knowing there was still a healthy balance left, I figured today was the perfect opportunity to empty the account. While we were looking over the menu, my sister-in-law leaned in and whispered anxiously, "Clara, are you sure about this? A simple roasted heirloom salad here is $45. I patted her hand reassuringly. "Don't worry about the prices. I have a prepaid membership with more than enough credits to cover us. Order whatever you like." Relieved but still cautious, no one went overboard. Between my parents, my brother's family of 4, and myself, we were 7 people, yet they only selected 8 modest dishes. The food at the Gilded Leaf was exquisite, but the portions were notoriously delicate. Realizing they were trying to save me money, I excused myself to visit the restroom and stopped by the concierge desk to check my balance. There was exactly $820 remaining. Determined to treat them fully, I quietly ordered several of the restaurant's signature items, including their famous truffle-infused venison and rare wild berry tarts, calculating the costs to use up every single dollar. When the additional platters began arriving, my mother looked concerned. "Clara, dear, this is far too much. We can't possibly finish all of this." "It's already paid for, Mom," I said with a warm smile. "Just enjoy it. Today is my treat." My mother gave me a look that was equal parts pride and gentle admonishment, while my brother teased, "Look at you, big city project manager, throwing money around." We had a wonderful, noisy, laughing lunch, sharing plates until every dish was clean. Afterward, they stayed at our terrace table to finish their herbal tea while I went down to the lobby reception to finalize the paperwork. I had just signed the receipt when I turned around and ran directly into Chloe Vance, a junior PR coordinator from my firm. The moment our eyes met, a flicker of sheer panic crossed her face, which she instantly masked with a bright, tight smile. "Oh, Clara. What a surprise to see you here," Chloe stammered, smoothing down her designer coat. "Hi, Chloe." "Yes, I'm just hosting my family," I replied evenly. "How lovely," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "Well, go on back to them. I just need to settle my tab at the register." I stepped to the side, intending to politely wait so we could walk out together. But as she approached the desk, I heard her clearly recite my personal phone number to the receptionist. My mind went entirely blank. I stepped closer, my heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. Chloe caught my movement in her peripheral vision, and the color began to drain from her cheeks. "Was that my phone number you just gave them?" I asked, keeping my voice dangerously calm. Chloe let out a forced, high-pitched laugh and gave my shoulder a playful nudge. "Oh, come on. You have that fancy VIP account here, right? Let me just borrow it real quick. Don't be so uptight." Before I could even process the sheer audacity of her trying to drain my prepaid account behind my back, the receptionist cleared her throat politely. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the receptionist said, looking directly at Chloe. "But this account only has a remaining balance of $1.50. How would you like to pay the remaining $1,248.50? Chloe froze. The smug, playful grin on her face evaporated, replaced by a look of sheer, unadulterated shock. "What do you mean, $1.50? Chloe snapped at the receptionist, her voice rising an octave. She whipped her head toward me, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. "Clara, you spent it. You actually spent all of it." I kept my expression entirely neutral. "I told you, I brought my family here for lunch. There are dozens of places to eat in Silveridge, and you had to choose this one today?" Chloe's face flushed a deep, angry crimson. She stepped directly into my personal space, her voice trembling with rage. "Did you do this on purpose just to spite me? What did your family do? Starve themselves for a week before coming to the city? I saw the platters going to your table. Truffle venison? Wild berry tarts? I'm surprised they didn't choke on it. It's like they've never seen decent food in their entire lives. I stared at her, genuinely stunned by the venom dripping from her words. Are you actually lecturing me on how I spend my own money on my own family, Chloe? You're paying my bill, she hissed, thrusting her palm out. $1,200 is pocket change to a senior PM like you. If I knew your account was empty, I would never have ordered all those premium courses. You practically lured me into a trap. It's your responsibility to cover it. On what planet, Chloe? I laughed, a cold, sharp sound. You tried to steal from my account using my phone number without my permission. And now that you've been caught, you expect me to pay for your lavish lunch? I don't owe you a single cent. I turned on my heel to walk away, but Chloe panicked. She lunged forward to grab my sleeve, but the receptionist intervened. Ma'am, please. You still need to settle your balance. Get off me. I'll pay in a minute. Chloe snarled, shaking the receptionist's hand off. I hurried up the stairs to our private terrace, but Chloe was right on my heels. Before I could close the glass door, she pushed past me, stepping straight into the dining area. The moment she saw my family, her angry scowl transformed into a sickeningly sweet, theatrical smile. Oh, hello everyone, Chloe chirped, her voice dripping with mock warmth. You must be Clara's parents. I'm her coworker from the firm. I brought my own guests here today, and when I saw Clara's name on the directory, I just had to come say hi. My mother, polite to a fault, stood up to greet her. Oh, a coworker. Please, join us for a moment. Clara was just telling us how lovely this place is. Chloe's eyes swept over our empty dessert plates, her lips curling into a condescending smirk. Yes, it certainly is. Though I must say, ma'am, a spread like this must be quite a shock to the system coming from your quiet little valley. Truffle venison and rare berries. I bet you've never even seen these ingredients back home, let alone tasted them. It's wonderful you got to experience a real city meal, even if you did go a bit overboard. The room went dead silent. My mother's smile vanished, her posture stiffening. My brother's jaw clenched. Even my young niece looked confused, whispering to her mother, Mommy, did we do something bad? Chloe, I said, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper as I pointed directly at the exit. Get out. Now. Chloe rolled her eyes, scoffing loudly as she backed away. Oh, relax, Clara. I was just making conversation. But really, sir, ma'am, she added, looking at my parents with mock pity, a word of advice. People in Silveridge have standards. Gorging yourselves like that makes it obvious you aren't from around here. With that final parting shot, she turned and bolted down the stairs. My father's hands were shaking slightly as he rested them on the table. My mother sat entirely rigid, stared at her tea, and said nothing. Don't listen to a word she said, I told them, my chest burning with a mixture of embarrassment and fury. She is a deeply bitter, desperate person. We sat in a heavy, uncomfortable silence for a few more minutes before I decided we should leave. But as we reached the lobby, the floor manager hurried over, blocking our path. Excuse me, Ms. Vance, the manager said apologetically. There is still an outstanding balance on your party's tab. I frowned. I already settled my bill at the register. Speak to the cashier. The manager held up a tablet showing a receipt. Your family's table is settled, yes. But the woman you were speaking with earlier, Ms. Chloe Vance, instructed us to transfer her table's bill to your account before she slipped out. Since you two are close colleagues and she used your verified phone number, we allowed the transfer. The remaining total is $1,248.50. I stared at the screen, my blood running cold. She had actually dined and dashed, using my identity to saddle me with her massive debt. Just then, my phone buzzed in my hand. It was a message from Chloe. Don't think you got one over on me just because you drained the card. Consider this lunch a little lesson. Winking face. I stared at the smug text message on my screen, my anger hardening into cold, absolute resolve. Chloe was counting on the presence of my family to keep me quiet. She assumed I would swallow a $1,250 loss just to avoid making a scene in front of my aging parents and my young niece. She had severely miscalculated. "I am not paying this," I told the floor manager, handing the tablet back to him. "Chloe Vance is a coworker, nothing more. I never authorized her to use my account, nor did I agree to cover her table. If your staff failed to verify her identity or get my consent, that is a breakdown in your restaurant's security, not my financial obligation." The manager's polite facade began to chip. "I understand your frustration, ma'am, but our staff witnessed you interacting. She had your private account details. We cannot simply let a $1,200 bill go unpaid. If you refuse to settle this, we will have to involve security." As if on cue, two burly security guards stepped near the exit doors, effectively blocking my family. My brother took a step forward, his face dark, but I gently pressed my hand against his arm to stop him. I pulled out my phone, looked the manager dead in the eye, and dialed the local police dispatch. "Yes, hello," I said clearly, ensuring my voice carried across the quiet lobby. "I'm at the Gilded Leaf on Ridgeview Boulevard. I need to report an ongoing incident of identity fraud and theft. A patron has run up a massive bill, accessed my private prepaid account without authorization, and has now left the premises after falsely charging her balance to my name. Yes, I have written proof of intent from the suspect on my phone, and the restaurant management is currently holding my family hostage over the unpaid debt." The word hostage and the mention of police dispatch acted like an electric shock on the manager. His patronizing expression shattered into instant, uncoordinated panic. "Ma'am, please." "There's no need for the authorities," he stammered, raising his hands. "We can work this out." "We are past the point of working it out," I replied, keeping my tone perfectly level. I gave the dispatcher our exact location, described Chloe, and confirmed we would wait in the lobby. "While we wait for the officers," I turned back to the manager, "I suggest you pull the security footage from both the registration desk and the dining terrace from the last 2 hours. If that footage mysteriously goes missing before the police arrive, your restaurant's liability in this fraud case is going to escalate significantly." The manager turned pale, gave a frantic nod, and rushed into the back office. Just then, a commotion flared up near the restrooms. Chloe had apparently been hiding in the vanity lounge, waiting for us to leave so she could slip out unnoticed. But because I had called the police, the perimeter guards had locked down the main exits. A guard had stopped her as she tried to sneak past. When she saw me standing in the center of the lobby with my family, her defensive walls crumbled into ugly desperation. "Clara, this is insane," she shrieked, marching over to me. "You called the police? Over a restaurant bill? We work together. Are you trying to ruin my life?" "You committed a crime, Chloe," I said. "You used my personal data to access my funds, and when that failed, you attempted to steal $1,200 from me. What did you think was going to happen?" "I was going to pay you back," she lied, her eyes darting around the lobby. "Your text message said, 'Consider this lunch a little lesson,'" I pointed out, holding up my screen. "That is not the language of a debtor. That is the language of a thief celebrating a successful heist." 10 minutes later, 2 officers walked through the glass doors. The officers were thorough. They took statements from the trembling floor manager, the cashier, and my family. Chloe tried to spin a frantic web of lies, claiming we were close friends, that it was a simple miscommunication, and that I had promised to cover her. "Show me any message or call where she agreed to this," the officer requested. Chloe unlocked her phone, her hands shaking, but there was nothing to show. Instead, I handed the officer my phone, displaying her final text message. The officer read the words, "Consider this lunch a little lesson," and slowly nodded. They didn't arrest Chloe that night, but they filed a formal report for identity fraud and theft, warning both her and the restaurant manager that the case was being escalated to the Financial Crimes Unit. The officer also gave the manager a stern warning about their illegal payment authorization policies. As we walked out, Chloe looked at me with a hollow, pale face, realizing the shield of my polite silence had completely shattered. "I'll contact HR on Monday morning," I told her quietly. "This stopped being about a bill the second you insulted my mother." What Chloe didn't know is that she had targeted the worst possible person. I don't just work in project management. My specialization is internal audit and corporate compliance. Building airtight, chronological documentation chains that hold up under legal scrutiny is my entire career. On Sunday, I didn't let anger dictate my actions. I sat down and built an 18-page dossier. It included the police report number, restaurant receipts, the text message, and a section titled Prior Patterns of Behavior. Over the past 2 years, Chloe had quietly skimmed from the office, adding personal items to corporate supply orders, slipping away before team lunch bills arrived, and borrowing small sums of money from colleagues that she forgot to pay back. I reached out to 3 coworkers who had been victimized by her petty thefts. By Sunday evening, they had all eagerly signed written statements. On Monday morning at 9 a.m., the dossier was on the HR director's desk. By 3 p.m., after a grueling investigation, Chloe was escorted out of the building on a permanent administrative suspension, packing her desk in front of a completely silent office. The Gilded Leaf also sent a formal, high-level letter of apology on Tuesday. They fully refunded my membership balance, took disciplinary action against the negligent staff, and offered a complimentary private dining experience for 8. 3 months later, my parents returned to Silveridge. I took them back to the Gilded Leaf. This time, the atmosphere was entirely different. We were seated at a beautiful window table overlooking the sunset over the valley. The service was impeccable, respectful, and warm. My father tried the delicate herbal dishes with a smile, and my mother sat relaxed, holding a porcelain teacup in both hands. "You didn't have to fight so hard for us, Clara," my mother whispered, looking at me with soft eyes. "We are used to people like her." "I know you are," I said, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. "But you shouldn't have to be. Not anymore." My mother smiled, a rare, proud expression that made her eyes crinkle. "You are just like your grandmother." She never let a wrong sit quietly either. Some people look at kindness and mistake it for a weakness. They assume that because you choose to be generous, you lack the spine to defend your boundaries. They think your dignity is a cost you are willing to absorb to avoid a scene. But true generosity isn't a lack of boundaries, it's a choice. And the people who give the most freely are always the ones who know exactly when it is time to stop.